Yeah, choice over there. Oh wait, let's use it. Just got the other chair. Bore da, just about still. Good morning to everybody. I'm Ellie, I'm the project manager for Routes Cymru, and in this session we're going to have a look in particular at how we can get involved with the pupil and the student language ambassador schemes in order to increase numbers in Key Stage 4. So a quick look, I think there's some animations on this slide unfortunately, so it may jump ahead, at what we're going to cover today. We're going to have a general quick look at what is a student language ambassador, or an SLA as I'll refer to them in this presentation, and what they can offer you in schools. Then the PLA scheme, so the Pupil Language Ambassador Scheme. We're then going to hear from colleagues from Abertillery Comprehensive and Holyhead High about their classroom experiences having worked with SLAs and the PLA scheme. We have a quick look at the impact and then some information about how you can get involved. So I'm basically going to bookend with some more kind of general information and logistics, and then my colleagues here will give you the exciting hands-on classroom stuff. So to start with, I thought I'd just give you a profile of what is a student language ambassador, what you can expect if you invite one into your classroom. So, to start with, all of our student language ambassadors, in one way or another, are studying languages in Wales. That's either of their main subject or as a joint honours. So some of them may be just single linguists, some of them may be studying 2 or 3 languages, but that is their degree. But this year as well, we've also trained some students who are combining languages with business studies. So we've worked with the business school in Cardiff University and also in Cardiff Metropolitan University. So we've got some students who are either doing a language module as part of a business degree or are doing a joint honours languages with business. The majority of our SLAs are British nationals, although we do have some who have travelled to Wales for their higher education from other areas of Europe. In terms of the training that we offer them, they all attend a national training event. So this was actually run a fortnight ago, and we had about 40 student language ambassadors come down here to Cardiff, and we put on a whole day of seminars and activities for them. So they learn about the education system here in Wales, and because actually the majority of them have been educated in England, so, you know, we think it's very important that they understand the situation when they're going into schools in Wales. We touch upon basic child protection, and then in the afternoon we have a carousel of much more practical sessions. So Nia, for example, ran one for us about icebreakers and taster sessions and motivational techniques. And we go through in a lot of detail in these sessions about what is expected from them as a student language ambassador, the types of tasks they'll be asked to complete, and how they should do that. So I think it's also important to note here that if you are going to invite an SLA into your classroom, that they aren't security checked. So we don't do the DBS checking, and therefore it's imperative that obviously they're with a member of staff at all times, and they shouldn't be left to lead a session with your students, with your pupils. So then quickly ask the question, why should you invite a student language ambassador into your classroom? So Routes into Languages Cymru now has been running, we're in our 6th year of project activity now. And a few years ago we had an external evaluation done of the project, and something from that says that young people listen to ambassadors because of who they are. They're young, they're cool, and because of who they are not, teachers or parents. This gives the ambassadors a credibility that other potential role models often lack. And I think this is probably the basis of why our student language ambassadors are one of our most successful elements of the Routes into Languages work. I can't stress strongly enough how powerful the messages are that they give. They're fantastic role models, and they've been in the shoes of your pupils in the not too distant past. Therefore, they're naturally enthusiastic about learning languages. They just naturally share their personal motivation of why they've chosen to study languages, and also their aspirations for the future as to where they think their languages are going to take them. And a lot of them these days we're finding are not coming out with the traditional teaching, translating, interpreting. They want to go into much more diverse careers and are researching that and doing work experience in other areas. So what can they offer you? This is just briefly a kind of taster of the main tasks that our student language ambassadors can support. So with the careers talks, we would provide our student language ambassadors with a basic template presentation, which is based on the presentation that we at Routes or our colleagues at Silk Cymru would deliver if they were coming in to do a careers talk. But then we ask our student language ambassadors to tailor elements of that presentation to their own personal experiences. So they're talking about their own motivation, if they're final year students, their year abroad, if they're not final year students, any experience they've had travelling or how their languages have helped them or how they've used them in a kind of practical way. And then what doors languages have opened for them, and then future aspirations of where they hope their language skills will take them. Our careers fairs, we currently attend Careers Wales organised fairs in order to reach as many schools as possible in one event. And we have taken to sending our student language ambassadors to these events, mainly because the young people who are attending really aren't afraid to come up to a stall that has young people staffing it. They're immediately attracted to our students and to our little badges, and they immediately start fantastic conversations about language learning. And we find that we manage to reach a lot of pupils that have maybe dropped languages in Key Stage 4 at this point. But we're trying to get them to think about, rekindle a passion for languages so try and re-enthuse them. And we find that at careers fairs, our student language ambassadors are fantastic at doing this. Parents' evenings, our SLAs are very supportive. I think the parents really love to have a chat with them about the courses in general, what they found challenging on a GCSE or an A-level course, how they overcame these challenges, the support that was given to them, what they're studying now, why they've chosen to study it in university, again, future aspirations. I think the parents really appreciate having this external person to your school who is in the thick of it, of learning languages and sharing their experiences, and they really trust the message that the students give. Enterprise Days is something really new that we'd really like to begin to use our SLAs to support in your schools. We've got a resource that's been created around our Go Global board game, and so we're looking to use our business students here to come into your schools and maybe offer an international dimension in Enterprise Days that are already running, or we could look to work with you to maybe set up a new languages Enterprise Day. And our student language ambassadors will be able to focus the students onto the different roles within business and show them how they can practically use their language skills in, for example, a finance role or a project management or a marketing or a PR role, and maybe roles that pupils haven't really thought of existed within business, but actually we all know that these roles do require language skills. Finally, our Adopt a Class scheme is something which allows you to build up a slightly longer relationship with a student language ambassador. So just to give you a little bit of background about what Adopt a Class is and how it works. We basically, when we started the project, we found that maybe there's a decrease in school exchanges, a decrease in the number of FLAs that are being employed in schools, and a general, in young people, lack of awareness of student mobility opportunities. So we came up with this Adopt a Class scheme where we basically link a Year 9 class with a student while they're abroad. So generally they're on Erasmus placement, studying in a university, they're language assistants, or they're on a work placement. And as you can see here, oh, no you can't, there we are, as you can see here, we encourage the students to go and meet the class when they're in Year 8, so they do a pre-departure talk. They then correspond throughout the entire year and then come back in the next academic year once they've returned to do a follow-up visit. We're going to have a look at impact a little bit later on, but we're also going to hear about Adopt a Class in more detail and how that's worked practically from Abertillery. And then before I hand over to my wonderful colleagues, I just want to mention the Pupil Language Ambassador Scheme. So this was set up last year. It was a joint venture between Silk Cymru and Routes Cymru, who managed to secure some funding from the British Academy. So 5 schools were offered training, and these schools proceeded to develop the Pupil Language Ambassador schemes within their schools and use their pupils to promote languages. And as I said, just touching on it really briefly, because again, my colleagues are going to tell you about how they've managed to use the PLA scheme and what is achieved in their school. So I would like to introduce you to Melanie Gill, who's Head of Languages at Abertillery Comprehensive, and some pupils as well. So we have Leah, Darren, and Abigail. Okay?
Good morning, buenos dias, bonjour. My name is Melanie Gill and I'm Head of Languages at Abertillery Comprehensive School. A little bit about the school. It's situated in Blaenau Gwent and we've got around 750 pupils on the roll this year. We had a new temporary head in June 2014, Mr. Nathan Jenkins, and the languages that we offer for GCSE are Spanish and French. It's a little bit of an unusual school because we actually do GCSE languages in 1 year, in year 9, 10 and 11, so it's a mixed year group of GCSE. The current languages in year 7 and 8 are just Spanish, so we've just gone all Spanish now, starting from last year, to try and get an intake every year for languages. And there are 2 teachers of languages, myself. I'm full-time and I teach Spanish and Welsh, and Leslie Mogford, she teaches Spanish, French and Welsh. So we've still got 1 French class in GCSE and then French will be going. So a little bit of history about myself. I started at Abertillery Comprehensive School in 2006 as an NQT. I studied a BA Honours in Welsh Education at Kincoid between 2004 and 2006. And I previously worked in Ecuador, in Quito, for 3 years, where I learned Spanish and I taught English as a foreign language. I also tutored some business workers while I was there and some students privately. I travelled extensively before that around the world for 2 years, North America, India, Nepal, Thailand, Southeast Asia, Australia and South America, so learned a lot about different languages and being able to communicate, and really found a passion for languages through that. Before that, I was a press officer for the House of Parliament, and I worked for 6 years in Cardiff in Royal Mail. My first degree was in journalism, film and broadcasting at Cardiff University, which is why I went in to be a press officer, but it wasn't the job for me. You know, I had this real passion for learning, and I wanted to follow that passion really, which is where the travelling came in. And then once I finished my travelling, I wanted to share that passion with others, which is why I chose teaching, so I came back and trained to be a teacher. Okay, history of languages at Abertillery. When I started in 2006, we had 3 full-time teachers of languages and a transition teacher that went out to primary schools who was on a 3-year project. We had 3 languages to offer at the time, Spanish, French and German in year 7, so we did a term of each language. And then in year 8, the pupils opted for 1 language, so they got to choose which one they wanted to carry on with. The languages at the time were really popular because of the promotions within the primary schools and the transition worker, and so you know, everything was fantastic. Then in 2011 we had a new head and the systems all changed. So under the new systems, pupils in year 8 had to opt for 2 options. So there was only 2 option columns. So languages became, you know, the last thing that people wanted to take. There was a real struggle there for us to get pupils. So in 2012 and 2013, we had no MFL pupils, and it was a really, really sad time because of the 2 limited option choices. So we had to work really, really hard to change things then over the next couple of years. We lost a full-time member of staff, and another member of staff went into senior management and went on a part-time timetable, so that just left me full-time within the languages department. So since 2012, now pupils, as I say, only study Spanish coming in at year 7, so that's made things a little bit easier. And then the pupils opt for languages in year 8. So at the moment, they're going to be just taking Spanish. It was French. We did drop the German, and it became French-Spanish, and now we're dropping the French, and it will just be Spanish. In September 2013, we finally got another MFL GCSE class with 15 pupils. And it, you know, due to all our hard work, we managed to get another GCSE class after the 2 years without having one. And our results were okay. We had 50% A star to C, some great grades there. You know, with the most of the pupils being in year 9, this was a real achievement because they did the GCSE within 1 year. So 6 hours a week rather than 3 hours a week, so the 2-year course over 1 year, and very young pupils, a lot of them. There were 17 pupils then in 2014 taking Spanish, and in 2014 September 12 pupils taking French, so 29 this year in total. Yay, finally, you know, 2 classes, French and Spanish. So our predictions for grades this year hopefully will go up by 10%. We're really hoping to get 60% A stars to C's, fingers crossed. So how did we do it? With a lot of help from some of the projects that have already been talked about already. Like I said earlier, we reintroduced Spanish only from year 7 to start. We reintroduced things like praise certificates, lots of fun activities, projects, coffee mornings, the Adopt the Class scheme, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. Things like European markets for Languages Day in September to celebrate European languages. We do that with year 7, and the language ambassadors. So we set up most of these projects in year 8 because of the options in year 8. So they opt around February, March time in year 8 for year 9 for the GCSE. So we thought if we introduce the projects in year 8, they'll be enthusiastic about the projects and enthusiastic about wanting to take languages in year 9. So before the options, we were sending the praise letters home to help, asking them if they wanted to become language ambassadors. And then we had the mixed GCSE classes with mostly year 9s, but some from year 10 and some from year 11. As I said earlier, 6 hours a week in 1 year. So the projects that we've taken on. So we started with the language markets with year 7, the European language markets, and the business languages talk in year 8, which happened just this week. I think they came in to give the talk to year 8 about how important languages is for jobs for the future, for university, and for the local area. The Circuit of Wales came in to talk to our year 8 pupils, telling about, you know, Spanish and French being really, really important for jobs within the Circuit of Wales up in Blaenau Gwent. So that was really helpful. The 2 main things that we've done then is the Adopt the Class scheme and the Language Ambassadors Training Programme with year 8 pupils. So let me talk a bit more through them. So we started the Adopt the Class scheme in 2013 as a pilot. We chose 1 year 8 group for this pilot project, and we signed up with Silk Cymru and Routes into Languages, and they linked us up with Imran Haq, who was going to Spain for his year abroad. Imran didn't actually manage to come out and visit the school before he went, so the year 8 class that I chose thought I'd made him up. And he started sending videos, and we were watching the videos in class, and they were like, does he really exist? You know, is he a real person? And they started talking to him and sending him work that they were doing at the time during year 8. So there was a really lovely link with that class. At the end of that year, Imran did actually come out and visit the pupils and turned up at the school, and they were all really, really shocked. They were like, yes, he's real. So we did go to Spain. He's a real person. And we had a really fantastic question and answer session about his year abroad, where we invited the pupils back in because they'd already taken their options in year 9. We invited them back into the classroom, and they had a chat with him about what he did in his year abroad. And there's a quick picture here where this is the day that he came in. So the boys asked loads of questions about going to university. They asked questions about, what was it like to do a year abroad? Did he miss his parents? Did he miss his friends? What food did he eat? The questions they asked were just so funny. And no, it was a really, really good day. We gave him some presents from Wales. He brought some flags in. I think there's a picture of the flags. He presented the class with some flags. And then this was the question and answer session in the classroom. So it's a really, really lovely day. And finally, they believed that, the project was real. So, since 2013, moving on to 2014, we've now set out the scheme across year 8. So all of the year 8s are involved this year with our new link-up. The new link-up this year is Mary Gartside, and she went to Mexico for her year abroad. So she came to visit the class before she went, the last week of term in July. So that was fantastic. They know she's real. They had a little question and answer session with her. She gave a PowerPoint presentation, talked about Mexico, the culture of Mexico, and really got the children, involved in what she was going to be doing in her year abroad. And what we did slightly differently this time was we set up an Edmodo site, so like a safe Facebook within the classroom, where the children can ask her questions, she can answer the questions, and we can do things kind of live in the classroom. So we've brought, Mary more into the classroom than we did with Imran, where he was just sending the videos and they sent him some work back. So I'm finding already this year it's much, much more exciting. So once a fortnight we chat to her online, and what the children have done this year, and they decided to do this, was to set Mary some challenges for the year. So things like trying some fruit with chili on it, and they asked her to dance with a Mexican. They've asked her to take a selfie wearing a Mexican hat. So, lots of little things that they've set for her to do over the year, and then she set them challenges to do within school as well. I think the pupils will talk about that in a minute, about what they had to do. And then hopefully she'll come and visit us at the end of her year abroad, and come and have the question and answer session within the classroom again. And that should happen sometime next year now. So yeah, we're going to carry on with that project, and it's been really, really brilliant. So the second project that we took on through Routes then was the Student Language Ambassadors Project. So 30 pupils were chosen in 2013 to be trained as ambassadors, and they were across year 8, 9, 10 and 11. And Silk Cymru and Routes into Languages came in to give them a 2-hour training session within the classroom. After this session, the pupils were awarded with badges to wear. I think the pupils will probably show you their badges. And they were given certificates for the training session. And then after the session, as part of that, they started meeting once a month, and they have their own language ambassadors meetings, where we all meet either break time to lunch times or after school, whenever we can organise the meetings. And they decide what they want to do as part of the language ambassadors, putting on things for other people or doing things for themselves. So the kinds of things that they've organised are usually things for year 7 and year 8. So they like do all my work for me, they do all my running around for me. They because there's only me, it's having someone else to help you do the things you wouldn't normally be able to do. So they've organised the European markets for me this year, competitions, so we do lots of poster competitions. I think they did a Day of the Dead mask competition, and there'll be a Christmas card competition, And we had a languages poster competition with lots of language vocab on for European Languages Day. So they've organised all of that, and they've chosen the winners and done the prizes, and I send them, you go to the shop for me, don't you, and buy the gifts. So a lot of things involved in that for them. Also, they've come along to things like open days, open evenings, and transition days, and they've put on activities for parents and for that to really promote languages around the school. And I think a couple of you as well have come in to help out in Year 7 classes, so becoming language assistants. So they would come into the class with Year 7 when they're learning something, and they would come around the classroom, help out with different questions in the classroom, and they take in turns to do that, so they're not missing their other lessons. We have a little rota where they can come in once a week to work with Year 7s. Picture here of them in one of their meetings. So these are some of the most active ones from the 30 that we train. About 15 of them are active now after the training. And this was one of the last meetings where they were deciding what they wanted to do for the following month. We also had our language ambassadors of the year last year. So Emily, who's with us today. Abigail, who's with us today, and Ellie, who's not. Emily was one of our pupils last year who sat her Spanish GCSE in Year 8 and passed with an A star. She was one of our youngest pupils in the school ever to get a GCSE, and that was in languages. So we're really, really proud of her. She does go to Spain a lot, and she's got family out there, so we put her in for the exam early because she just had the skills. So she's been a great ambassador as well, hasn't she? Okay, so the pupils will like to talk to you a little bit more about what they've been doing. So first of all, I'd like to introduce you to Abigail Hooker.
Hi everyone, I'm Abigail Hooker. I'm 13 years old and I go to Abertillery Comprehensive where I study Spanish and Design Technology. I so happen to be a language ambassador for my school, along with many others, with my friends Leah and Darren. We have been language ambassadors for quite some time now, and we started training when we were in Year 8 with Miss Gill and Silk Cymru, and it's been a pleasure to learn with them. Being an ambassador has been great, especially when I get to tell everyone about what we do. Ever since we became ambassadors, we put on a lot of events, such as coffee mornings, competitions, European Language Days, and we recently had Day of the Dead party, which was very successful. And as we said earlier, we have meetings every month to discuss what activities and events we would like to do. Being an ambassador for me, myself, has helped me become a better leader, organiser, and given me more confidence in my school life. And thank you all for listening. I'm going to pass you on to Leah.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Leah Phillips and I'm 13 years old. I am also one of many people who became a language ambassador and took Spanish and Welsh for GCSE. I'm also a student in Abertillery Comprehensive School. In Year 8, the school decided to do an adopted class project, and that was when we were all introduced to Imran. He was studying at Swansea University and took Spanish for his course. He went to Spain and decided to adopt us, so he can show us what he did while he was there. While he was in Spain, he sent over a variety of videos, which are on Edmodo, which Darren will explain in a few moments. He also knows a variety of languages, such as Catalan. When he finished his course, he decided to come and visit Year 9 Spanish and French GCSE, and he gave us a myriad of quizzes and puzzles involving the past videos he put up onto Edmodo. He also gave us a Spanish flag and a Catalan flag. His videos gave us a huge inspiration and helped me with numbers, hobbies, and what school is like in Spain. He went to a school in Spain where he taught English to them. He also sent us a video when the class tried to talk English. He gave us a great idea on what we can do if we take a language at university. He showed us that working with pupils in Spain could be something that is really inspiring. It's been a huge pleasure coming here today I will now hand you over to my friend Darren.
Hello, my name's Darren. I'm also 13 years old. I'm a lounge ambassador at Abertillery Comprehensive School. Mary has just adopted us in July and she's having a year abroad in Mexico. We all set up an Edmodo account so we could contact her. We all set up, she often has pictures of things she has seen and festivals. The latest one was the Day of the Dead. So we set up a special type of party where we tried traditional food and drinks such as hot chocolate with chili and cinnamon. We asked Year 8 to come and celebrate with us. Year 8 have also set Mary some challenges too, like dancing with a Mexican and trying a ghost chili. At the end of the year abroad, she has promised to come back and tell us all about it. I enjoy these kinds of Spanish projects because they are a lot of fun and we get to learn so much about other cultures like Spain and Mexico. Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions?
Well, all I'd like to say to finish then is thank you very much for listening, and thank you so much to Routes and Silk Cymru for helping us with these projects and really helping us to be able to move things on with modern foreign languages. And I just hope that the future's brighter and that next year we'll have 30 pupils and the year after 40 pupils taking modern foreign languages. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody from Abertillery Comprehensive. It's really fantastic to hear what fantastic work that you're doing. So now I'm going to introduce our next speaker. So Gillian Mortlock has joined us from Holyhead High School today. So please welcome Gillian. Oh, so we may just need to exit the slide. Oh, great. Come to that.
Thank you very much. When I was sitting here this morning, I was reflecting on when Kira sent me an email. I said, Jill, would you come and do a short presentation at the Languages Wales conference? Yeah, okay. And then I was sitting down and thinking, actually, this is the first time I've ever done a presentation, not only to anybody outside of my school, but in my school as well. So it was pretty daunting sitting listening to all these very good presentations. And thank you, Mel, because I've certainly got a lot of ideas from you guys about how to develop the Pupil Language Ambassador Scheme in my school. And you really are inspirational. Thank you very, very much. Basically, so my name's Jill. My title is Assistant Learning Leader Language in my school. And this is my school. I'm Lucy. It's a school of Rakagabi. And I'm going to talk about raising the uptake of GCSE and Pupil Language Ambassador Scheme. This morning we talked about Hugh Lewis. And I can tell you where he is, actually. He's there. He's in my school today. But I don't think he knows I'm here, actually, interestingly enough. We're a Schools Challenge Cymru school, which will tell you probably something about the nature of the school. So I need to really give a bit of background. Kira said, give some context and then talk about the scheme. So first of all, a bit of context about the school, where we've come from, where we are now, and then the Pupil Language Ambassador Scheme. Well, in our school, 40% of our pupils come from 20% of the most deprived areas of Wales. Lots are just above the free school meals threshold. We've been in free school meals mid-20% for most of the past 10 years. A significant number of our pupils come to school with quite weak literacy skills in English. And again, that's really over the past 10 years. Over the past 6 years, approximately, there's been a significant intervention required to improve literacy, which we've been putting in place. The pupils tend to, unlike these wonderful pupils here, to lack confidence and aspirations. We're hoping to sort of instill that in them, and I think hopefully I'll show you during the presentation how that's actually coming about now for languages, which we're so pleased about. Another thing I was going to say, could I challenge myself to this presentation like a Miliband without notes, without mentioning the debt and the budget deficit, and I can't, so I'm going to do both, I'm afraid. We've had some quite significant financial problems in the school, which has impacted on the languages department. However, things are changing, which is really nice. So, as you can see from our table, we've clearly got a problem. I joined the school in 1996. I'm a German specialist. I did French as a subsidiary subject in my degree. When I first came to the school, I did French and German, but mainly German. And we had a lot of pupils doing languages. In 2003, a long time ago, we had about 70 entries, both French and German. And in German, we had 15 A's and A stars. So we were good at our job. We could do our languages well. We were a successful department. By 2009, only French was offered in the school, and the last 9 pupils were going through doing German. By 2014, as you can see, we had no candidates. In 2015, we had 5. 5 were coming to their GCSE French next year, but only because they included 2 of the most able pupils in the school, and the SLT felt they couldn't really say no when they chose French. But then a massive change in 2016. We've got 26 now in our year 10. With 31 opted for French, we ended up with 26, which is a huge change. I'm going to hopefully try and explain how that change came about. For 2017, our challenge is, can we continue with that? And I think Greg was saying how we had a particularly challenging year 8 year group. Well, our year 9 year group is quite challenging this year, and I know I'll be hard pressed to match that. We'll try. Just to see, well, how did we get to this situation? So go through the problems first, end up on a positive note. Difficulties in our school led to a lot of pupils choosing other schools instead of us. So if you think about 5 years before that Nord, 5 years before, we were losing some pupils. The focus was placed on vocational courses. I trained as an MVQ assessor for OCR through, I think it was SILT, it was through SILT. I was part of a working party which devised the first set of assessment materials. It was put in the options columns as part of this drive for vocational subjects for 2 years, but unfortunately not enough pupils opted for it. And as it had been on the options column for 2 years, it had to be removed because those were the rules we were given. We did a trial of the NVQ with our final year 9 German group. They weren't offered the GCSE, so I thought, well, we'll do the NVQ with them. They all got their level 1, which is great. We actually use it in the school. However, it was quite expensive, and again, due to financial problems, we weren't really able to continue with it. We were up against the options columns. French was put against English sciences. It was put against history. It really didn't help us. But for the 2014 options columns, thankfully, we had a much better column. We weren't put against science, we weren't put against history. The pupils were allowed not to choose the Welsh back because it was optional in our school. And I think that helped create this high number of pupils opting for French, which we're so pleased about. My new head teacher, well, 3 head teachers over the past 6 years, the new one said you've got to be honest and challenge yourselves, so we are being honest. So the next slide shows you the honest truth. And this is where we've come from, the free skimmers quartiles. Our target, level 5, is 85%. We haven't got there yet, and we are lagging behind the other departments in the school. I'm saying this because I think pupils choose something they feel successful at, and clearly our pupils weren't feeling successful in French, and I'm going to explain why. Problems. Staffing. We were cut from 5 members of staff from 2008 to 2, a bit like yourself. We now have 2 members of staff, one of whom isn't full-time in French, that's been since 2010. One member of staff who's our French national is the ANCO, which is fantastic. She's now moving to the school. My other colleague, who's actually a language teacher, thank goodness, she's also responsible for Key Stage 4 Welsh back and all the skills qualifications. As you know, that's a huge task, so she's also responsible for that. We had a cut in curriculum time for Key Stage 3 French by a half in around about 2009. We then had a fortnightly timetable, so there were sometimes 10 days between lessons, which made it very difficult for the pupils to remember their work, etc. Big literacy intervention I mentioned earlier. The SLT decided to remove pupils from French for active literacy. So they were taken from a language subject to a language which, they decided to do that. Some pupils had no French at all in their timetable at all at Key Stage 3. Some had half the amount of time of others. There were timetable literacy lessons in the French, and there was limited or no control of the setting. This is really a period of 5 or 6 years. This affects the state of language in the school. The pupils didn't see it as being an important subject in the school, in my opinion. However, this is the first academic year when now all pupils are studying French. We still have the legacy of pupils in year 9, for example, who are in my classes who have had no French at all, and they're in the same group as people who have had French. They're also pupils who find some subjects difficult, so we're still being challenged. But I put our target at 85%. I think it's possibly achievable for level 5. So with the higher levels, well, we have to improve take-up, and to do that we need to improve achievement. The county decided that the language department in our school clearly needed some intervention because we weren't doing very well. So they chose us for their targeting departments initiative. We were lucky enough to still have the services of Sylvie Gartou, who was our a language advisor. Of course, they've now disappeared. We no longer have a language advisor. She was our last one. She was absolutely fantastic. And I worked with her with the MBQ for many years. She gave me the school for half a day, and we sat down, we looked at the scheme of work, which had to be revised, I've got to do a course in, and so on. And we looked at how can we raise achievement, how can we make sure pupils move more rapidly through the levels. So we had a half a day, we talked about it, we put some different ideas in place, and as you can see from the graph here, this has worked. We really have improved for level 6 and 7, which is fantastic, but this improvement here wasn't reflected in the take-up at GCSE. So although pupils are feeling more successful, that wasn't reflected in the take-up. As you remember, only 5 chose from that year group to carry on. So we thought, well, what's going to happen? What can we do here? And at this point, as you may imagine, I was feeling pretty low. I was doing all these things, and I was thinking, what can I do to try and make sure that people understand it's fun. I've enjoyed languages so much. It can add so much to their lives. What can I do about it? And I actually applied to go on an Erasmus course in France. I was very lucky to get on this course at the Cavillon in Vichy. It was so motivational, and it made me realise that actually we weren't limited to do literacy and numeracy and skills. We had to get back to the fun, the oracy, and that's what the children want to do. They want to learn to speak a language and have fun. And it really motivated me to think about putting it back in my lessons. So I really am very grateful to have that opportunity. So that was part of what happened. Also, I was successful when I asked to be part of the Silk Compact scheme. And when Kira came to school to talk to me, we thought, well, what could we do? So she talked about, well, what about the Silk Cymru Careers Talks, support for options at parents' evenings. That was great, but unfortunately, our options evening didn't coincide with when she was free and she wasn't able to come then. However, with the Pupil Language Ambassador scheme, I think we can improve on this next year. I also set up an e-twinning organisation, a lunchtime club, which off quite well. I had a year 8 group who were a 9 group who were quite keen. They'd been to Paris with us at the end of year 8, which I think is quite crucial, and they were really enthused. We went to the catacombs, we went to the hotel, we did the throat cruise, and they were really thrilled with all these things. And I had an email from somebody in France, an American teacher, saying, one of my colleagues has been a foreign language assistant in an animal school called Mortlock, and we want to twin with you. Great, I said, excellent, we'll do that. Hadn't done it before, we set it up, it was a lunchtime club. And this really did motivate the pupils. They really found it so motivational to actually exchange emails and get to know pupils from France. So these schemes, like the Student Language Ambassador scheme and the Pupil Language Ambassador scheme, putting people in contact with French pupils, for us is really motivational. It links in with our desire to try and bring the culture, as Greg was mentioning about how important the culture is. So with the e-twinning, we did lots of things. They sent messages through the secure site. They sent exchanged written work. But again, it goes back to culture. So what we decided to do, we tried to do a little video. So I gave the pupils little video cameras, and I got the consent of staff to go around the school and make videos so they could actually understand what life was like in a Welsh school. So they did that, and they had a lot of fun doing it. So although this isn't in French, this is a little short video clip of one of the e-twinning club members who was given a camera to Michael to go around, and he chose maths and PE to record 4 French pupils what he thought French people would like to see about a school in Wales. So just, although it's not French, I want to show his point of view, what he felt they would be interested in seeing. Now if I can perhaps call some This is my
Yeah, 9 shared by 25, literally, all the calculator, 9 shared by 25. It's 9 shared by 25 out there. 9 isn't half 25, is it? It's a bit more. Sorry, it's less. Yeah, it's less. So,
and that was my
decimal, and hence, it's 1%. Yeah? 9 shared by 25, literally, all the calculators. 9 shared by 25. 9 shared by 25 out there.
So that was Michael, one of Michael's, he did a great one for PE, which I didn't bring actually, was a bit silly of me, where everyone introduced themselves in French, they watched a basketball game, so there's loads of things in this video. We haven't quite finished it yet, because when we tried to put it onto Movie Maker, some of the video quality went. So we're putting subtitles on for that, so that's sort of work in progress really. We also use the business language champions. Oh, by the way, sorry, the e-twinning, something I wanted to mention the e-twinning was, we were almost ready to go to France to visit the school. Mary Rose, who's actually American, working in the school, she'd organised this exchange, we could go there. I've been to my head teacher, he said, well, I don't know about this. He said, because you've got the same pupils' homes, this is child protection, what about risk assessment? So I went back to Mary Rose, well, could we stay somewhere else? Yes, we could stay here in this hotel. Went back to him and said, actually, no, you can't do it because of risk assessment and child protection, we can't do it. So we were very disappointed, and that's something that really I'm coming across all the time. It's very difficult to get the exchange programme growing, and I'm coming up against this risk assessment problem. So if anyone has any ideas about how to overcome that, I'd really be grateful, because our kids want to do it, but we just can't get beyond that problem at the moment. And so they were very disappointed they couldn't go. However, you know, it was all part of the learning process, I suppose. The Business Language Champions was really helpful. That was fully placed by Silk. We had Tim Penn. If you haven't met Tim Penn, he's truly inspirational. He's a fantastic speaker. The kids were absolutely fascinated by what he had to say. I can tell you, he learnt French by being a jockey. And he asked if he was, can you guess how I learnt French? And nobody can. And he was brilliant, and he's coming back again this year. So I'm very grateful to him. And on here it said, of course, we adjusted the scheme of work for years 8 and 9 to incorporate more careers information. So for the third year abroad is really good for little videos. There's one video where there's he's a language and a sports coach for Newcastle United, and he was talking about how I think it was his Spanish he was using there, or his French or Spanish. But the boys were very interested. Well, how's that linking to my PE? And we now have in our GCC group a very good athlete who's doing sport with a view to using French with the sport. So these sort of, this message of linking French or Spanish or German to another subject is really starting to bear fruit now in our school. That's what we really are trying to push. So that was really good. So the other thing we had to do was, well, what else can we do? Well, I heard about the Pupil Language Ambassador Scheme, and I thought, let's try and involve my year 10s in that. It was Kira who came along to talk to the pupils about the Pupil Language Ambassador Scheme. She came in about February or March this year, and she showed them a presentation written by Christina. Yes. Here are our Pupil Language Ambassadors. Fewer than you've got, sadly, but there are 5 of them. We've got Sarah, Scott, Chloe, Tegan, and Emily. They're in year 9 now. And this is taken on the day when Kira came to do her presentation. They've got their badges on. So we said, okay, what can we do to promote languages in our school? And they came up with the idea that, we brainstormed a few ideas. And one they decided on was the Place d'Appel. It so happened that the 1st of April was going to be a day in school. So I thought, right, we'll do that. we'll engage our pupils doing an activity of this sort. Now you can't probably see that, so basically they had a planning sheet which we did at lunchtime, Le Poisson de Bill, and decided, well, what are we going to do here? We want to ensure the game is, they have to try and put their fish on the teacher's back without the teacher noticing. How do we plan it? How do we organise it? How do we give prizes? And this is what they thought of. They thought of this. They have a grid with all the teachers' names on it. There's the grid. They would make sure there were prizes for everybody, but a bigger prize for first, second and third places. In other words, how many teachers can they fool and get the fish on? The teachers decide if it's been successful. How many can they get? They have to print fish templates off or do their own. Had to give notice to Year 7 tutors to tell the pupils of this really exciting activity which you could all be part of. They had to, on the 31st of March, it says there, invite Year 7s to come at lunchtime and decorate their croissant at dinner time. Actually, we did that in lessons because we felt there were too many pupils to come at lunchtime to cover in fish, so we did some in lesson times as well. And they had to try and persuade the Year 7s to come in to decorate their fish, which they all did. This year was a who, what, where and when, who was doing what and when by. And that was what we did. So the pupils had quite a lot of fun with their fish, trying to catch up teachers. They were busy chasing teachers around the school, and everyone joined in the fun. So that was great. It was in my classroom. This is when, of course, out in the schoolyard at lunchtime, we have the fish there. I gave the pupils the cameras. The cameras take photographs. So it was up to them to go and take photographs. The top two are some of the photographs they took of them having fun, because the fish was here, not there, but it was okay. And this was the assembly, the prizes at the assembly, where they were given. Everyone had some chocolate because it was Easter time, so they had culture, fun, and chocolate. And there was a certificate. They did a certificate for the top three. One got really tricked from those teachers. And everyone, all the pupils said they really enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun, and the Year 10s really enjoyed doing it. At the end of Year 10, our pupils go on work experience, and Chloe, one of the pupil language ambassadors, are going to primary school. So I said to her, what about doing something with the French? Okay, I'll do that. So we came up with a very simple numeracy cards, which she did herself and took with her, and she took it to the local primary school. So it was going to develop pupils' oracy, their numeracy, and we did we got together a few simple games. When Chloe got there, I mean, she's only sort of just Year 10, she was a little bit shy, and so it was not necessarily that easy for her to actually do this. So we've got another plan to help Chloe actually achieve what she set out to do, but find it a bit daunting in her work experience. I'll explain that in a second. We were involved as a school with the Key Stage 2 introduction of languages into the primary sector. Way back in 2008-2009, my colleague was involved in preparing materials for primary staff. She was involved in going around to primary schools to promote this initiative, which is voluntary in Wales. And we were hoping to get the local feeder schools to do a bit of French, so when people came up, they'd be enthused about French. It worked to some extent, but of course it's all optional. We all know we're all pressed for curriculum time. After a while, things seemed to tail off a bit. So we had some meetings in one of our inset days with our local primary colleagues. What can we do to support you with your French? And they said, well, what do you need? Well, we were really stuck with the oracy. We're not sure how to teach it. So I said, well, would you like to bring your pupils to our school with you, and we'll do some lessons and give you some ideas? And they said, yes, we'll do that, great. So for 2 years, on one day in November, a selection of primary schools, probably 5 in a day, would come up, and we'd have their Year 5 or 6 pupils, the teachers there, and we'd do some language activities with them, which we got some really positive feedback for. However, we had, as I said, with a lot of difficulties in school. One autumn it was just impossible for me to do it. I had so much to do, I couldn't do it. The following year, everybody couldn't afford to pay for the cover for me to do it. However, this year he says we can. So I've done a new questionnaire for our primary schools, and you might not be able to read that here. So basically, I asked them for the name of the school, the teacher responsible for French or languages, is it in the lessons, is it a club, and what do they want? The feedback is they want some help developing new French resources, they want to observe us teaching lessons, they want us to help them develop oracy, and they want our pupil language ambassadors to go into their schools. I've asked the Year 11s now, they said they will. we happen to have a double French, not great, but a double French on a Monday. So for the ones that are nearby, we can actually go in and use Chloe's cards and help Chloe develop her confidence in delivering that in the primary sector. So that's kind of working out quite well. However, they are 11, unlike, but similar to you've got GCSE going on, haven't you, in year 8? And of course the problem then is the time they need for other subjects. So I'm thinking about bringing it in at an earlier stage like you have done, because in the Key Stage 4, their subjects are really important. Their controlled assessments coming through, they've got less time. So I think it's a good idea to bring it in earlier, actually. And I'm going to borrow that idea from you. But that's what they're going to be doing next. They're going to be next going to primary schools, using Chloe's numeracy or oracy cards, and that will come then go on their CV. They're also developing some profiles for me, and one of my year 10 pupils said, I'll do a video like there are on the Silk Cymru site promoting languages, and Jack's going to come in next week and do his video, and we'll see how that goes. I'm also very grateful to Routes into Languages because they, Ruben, who runs the Wales Europe of the World conference at Bangor University, emailed me and said, we've got Paul Kay coming up, would you like him to come to Holyhead? I said, yes, please, that'd be fantastic. However, I had to get our year 9 to see him without necessarily someone telling me you can't do it. So I said, right, we have an extended assembly. I've got a year 10 GCSE class on a Tuesday. If you could come Tuesday. I didn't have French with year 9 on Tuesday. Come on Tuesday, extended assembly, and year 10s can be there, the year 9s, just 2 groups can be there, and if it runs on a bit, it'll be okay. So Paul came in, and he did a really lovely presentation. Our pupil language ambassadors met him, so they've met Paul Kay. If you don't know, he's a language officer in the European Commission in London. He's one of 2 language officers. So they met him at school reception, and they brought him over to the drama studio, where he then gave this presentation to the GCSE groups and to the year 9s. And as you can see, there he is giving his presentation. They really enjoyed it. He got a few jokes, a few clips from The Apprentice, when we found out that you don't need to have gone to France to know that the French do love their children. But Karen Brady's verdict on that was, well, it was beyond stupid, who would think they couldn't. So it's really good. It linked in business with languages, and always trying to tell them, think of your language as an add-on to the skill. You're good at PE, you're good at art, you're good at music, you're good at all these things. Your language can take you further with it, and that's the message I keep trying to put across to them. And Paul was brilliant at supporting that. He also, at the end, offered, would you like to come to London to the European Commission? Yes, please. And some of the people said, yes, please. So hopefully we might get down there to see him and he can show us around the European Commission in London. He also mentioned that they were looking for speakers of other languages. In our school, thankfully our IENCO a few years ago decided to sort of promote the fact, to try to boost the self-confidence of pupils, of speakers of other languages. We have pupils in our school, a few speak Polish, Mandarin Chinese, Cantonese and so on. And she introduced GCSEs and A-levels in those subjects. So in our school, if a pupil comes in with another language, they are supported to do their GCSEs. And in our year 10 class, Anna Tyler is got a Polish family. She did a Polish AS in year 9, and he happened to mention that we're looking for Polish and French speakers, 2 languages were important. And I said, yeah, we're looking for people. So Anna, you already have, if you carry the French, already have what you need for a fantastic job in the European Commission. And she was just absolutely amazed. It boosted her self-confidence so much. Also made her really value and made her feel really important that she had another language that other pupils didn't have. And that was just lovely to see. So it's really nice to give that message. I asked the year 9s to write a letter to Paul to thank him for coming. You can't read that programme. I'd like to read it out to you because it's trying to, I think the message that Greg was giving about culture and broadening horizons really comes across this letter from Morgan. She typed it because she'd broken her hand, so she couldn't actually write the letter. So she says, Dear Mr. Kay, thank you for visiting our school yesterday. We hope that you enjoyed your visit and got to see something of our town and beautiful island before you left. I really enjoyed the presentation. It was very inspirational, and I'm considering learning languages now. The way you described your career has shown me that you've made a very big success of your life, which many people don't do. It's not easy to learn languages, but you make it seem very easy. I might try it. I most enjoyed your talk about football. He mentioned the fact that you translated into Slovak for Mr. Ferguson. First name, help me please. Manchester United. Alex Ferguson, okay, at a TV interview. It really did surprise me. Personally, I think you have encouraged many of us in the room, and we are now thinking whether or not we should learn language. It seems to be it can get you far in life, and you can meet new people and be able to communicate with people from many parts of the world. I also enjoyed your talk about how you have been a journalist and have broadcasted. I was amazed, very. I was particularly interested to find out about how many languages are spoken in Europe. I didn't realise how many there were. Also, I was interested by how many you speak. I can only speak English, and I'm partially Welsh, and I'm learning French in Key Stage 3. I'm in my 3rd year of Key Stage 3, Year 9. I have learned how to have conversations in French about sports, a holiday, and how to give directions, so I'm getting there, haha. I hope you continue to encourage many people in Europe to learn languages. Your talk can encourage people. It has encouraged all of us. I hope you also continue to make a success of your life and continue learning languages, especially Welsh. He mentioned he bought a book on Welsh on his trip up. Diolch yn fawr, merci, thank you, Morgan. Morgan is one of my target pupils at GCSE, but Morgan's like this. Not sure. I really hope that's persuaded her that it's the right subject for her to choose. What other things we try and do to promote languages in our school are, I've set up this, and I hope that's right, Club de Film Français. It's a club run every 2 weeks. I intended it really for the Key Stage 4, but it's Key Stage 3 are coming along. So what I've done is I've shown films like Kirikou et la Sorcière, which they just really liked, and I love Kirikou et la Sorcière because the music's by Yesu and Dur, it's African music. In Year 7 in music, they do modern African music. My Year 11 still sing the song about Kirikou, il est petit, mais il est vaillant, they love it. And we're going to have, by popular request, we're going to have Asterix soon. I'd like to Intouchable for the GCSEs, I think they would really enjoy that. Also, we have a pupil in Year 7 who is visually impaired. She's got a degenerative illness, sadly. And she came along with her mum to watch Kirikou. Her mum showed her what the images were, and she listened. She is also coming to this, a spelling bee. We're running a spelling bee Year 7. In our school, we have an open access site, so the pupils can click on this, and it takes them straight through to the internet site for the spelling bee. We talked about the alphabet this morning. Actually, we're finding the alphabet is quite good because we're doing it in Welsh and in French. It expands our understanding of how alphabet works, how the alphabet works, how there are different alphabets in the world, how the sound is different in each one, and how it's important to communicate. So it's really promoting their oratory, their listening skills, understanding how languages differ from each other, and making comparisons. And Harriet is coming along to this. She's partially sighted, she will lose her sight, but she's coming to this, and this is just fantastic. It's all about the sound. So I'm so pleased she's coming along to it. In addition, we're also running a Mandarin Chinese club. When I went to the Wales European World Conference in Bangor, I met Ruben there, the Routes into Languages coordinator. He said to go to the Confucius Institute. I asked them, can you come to our school and do classes? They are coming after school on Tuesday. Very small number in the 6th form and a small number in Key Stage 3, but we are so lucky because one of those wonderful Chinese teachers is also sings in the Beijing Opera. She brought her musical instrument and she sings, and last Tuesday the kids were singing in Chinese. I'm just going to bring some costumes for them. I'm going to record them next week, and it's just truly inspirational to see them coming. Only small numbers, but we really hope that it will inspire them to carry on learning languages. That's our story in Holyhead. If you have any questions, please do ask me if you want.
Right, so I'll just really quickly run through the impact of our schemes. So I don't think I need to talk anymore about the impact of the Pupil Language Ambassador Scheme. That's all been covered here. This graph is showing the impact of our careers talks. So for any of you who've already had a careers talk from us, you know that we collect data immediately, and inevitably we have an immediate positive impact. But it's whether this actually carries through to people opting, or young people opting. So last year's WJC did some research for us, and it has actually shown that yes, the careers talk are having a longer term impact on the decisions that young people are making, which is really encouraging, and why we're so keen to keep the careers talk offer as part of our suite of activities. And finally, because we've talked about Adopt a Class, the impact of Adopt a Class, we were awarded a European language label for for the scheme, which notes the effectiveness, the fact that it's innovative and replicable. And this has also been proved as it's now also being offered by each of the Routes into Languages consortia across England as well. But a number of our schools that have worked with us, although we do obviously appreciate that you're doing a lot of other work, it's not just down to one scheme, but many teachers have told us that they do directly link, the Adopt class is the new thing that they've introduced in that year, and they directly link their increased uptake with the scheme, so it can have quite a powerful effect. And then finally, just to have a look at how you can get involved, here are our contact details, or obviously many of you know us personally, so please just get in touch. With regards to the student language ambassadors, that's Routes into Languages, we organise that. If you're particularly interested in the international dimension within enterprise, then please pick up the phone and we'll have a chat with you, see how we can support you with that, and also we'll pick out the students so that the profile is exactly right for what you're hoping to get out of the day. With Pupil Language Ambassador Scheme, to make you aware, on February the 5th actually, in partnership with Silk Cymru and the British Council, we're going to be holding a national training event for Pupil Language Ambassadors. Priority booking will be given to Silk Cymru Compact schools for this, but then any additional spaces will be offered more widely on a first come, first served basis. So please keep an eye out on our website for more details about that, but get the date in your diary. But also, if it's something that you'd like to establish in your school but you're not able to attend the training, then please get in touch and we can share our training material with you. We won't unfortunately be able to provide you with badges, but we can give you certificates for the training. So maybe the only cost on the department would be the cost of some badges, if you felt that it was necessary to give the badges out. And finally, with Dr. Class, we're looking to create links in April, so make sure that these introductory visits do happen before our students disappear off home or abroad. So please email your interest now and we'll keep that on record, and then we'll get back in touch with you in April to start setting up those introductory talks. So thank you very much. If any of you have got any questions, then I would say please go and grab a plate of food, and then we'll all be around over lunchtime to come and chat to us then. So diolch yn fawr, thank you.
Thank you.